New York State has the highest COVID infection and death rates in the United States. And New York State also has the highest cancer rates. Now, Warren County, Queensbury, Glens Falls, Hudson Falls, Warrensburg, Bolton Landing, Lake George Village, Lake George, Warren County has the highest cancer rates in the state of New York. Now, this guy, Cuomo, who lied about the nursing home deaths, and this guy, Cuomo, who hid all the records associated with all the people that he killed. The decision to put those COVID infectious patients in with Granny and Grandpa at the senior citizens' homes resulted in, 13, 15, 18, 20,000 deaths. We're not sure yet. They're still counting the bodies from the liar, Andy Cuomo, and his little freaky brother there, Chris. The Cuomo brothers. It's like the Mario brothers there, the Cuomo brothers, the clowns. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been following this thing from Glens Falls and the highest cancer rates in the state of New York because that's my old hometown. And suffice it to say, my family, for generations, were involved in heavy industry in the area. And my dad, my father, our family, we knew all the big industrialists and the bankers and the lawyers. And my father was pretty well known and he got around. And I'll tell you one thing about Glens Falls, they don't like the truth. They love Andy Cuomo and they don't like the truth. You see, folks, when you send all kinds of chemicals up in the air, from like the cement plant and, General Electric and from the paper companies, and the list just goes on from all the different dry cleaning outfits and, radiator repair shops, the body shops. There's all kinds of heavy industry that are in the area of Warren County and in Warren County, and they send all these chemicals into the air. The worst pollutants you can think of go up in the air, and then they mix together, creating new compounds. They all mix together in the air, and they create new chemical compounds, and they cool off as they ascend into the atmosphere, and then they settle back down to the ground, especially in the Lake George Basin. Now, folks, Lake George is quite an interesting place because it's a great big bowl. It's a bedrock basin. So all the water and all the acid rain and the chemical rain from all these factories and pollutant generating points, they all mix in with the rainwater and they fall upon the Lake George Basin, 242, 245 square mile lake basin of Lake George, which is a great big bedrock bowl. And all of these chemicals and all of these pollutants from automobiles and trucks and buses and planes, and then of course the boats, all the oil and gas components from the outboard marine engines and the outboard marine engines, and the inboard marine engines, they all spew and splatter throughout the water with all the sewage from all the household septic tanks that are in this 242-mile lake basin made out of bedrock. Now, folks, I know I'm kind of sounding a little bit like a broken record here, but all of these chemicals and all of this sewage from 6,000 leach fields all around the lake. There's 6,000 of them, and huge numbers of them are right on the lake shore. All of this slop and mess goes into Lake George. So you got to have the Lake George Park Commission and the Environmental Conservation Department flushing Lake George. Now they lie about it and they call it a drawdown. They say we're drawing down Lake George because the dam, Elise Stefanik, the dams are breaking. Elise Stefanik, the dams are breaking. They use the dam at the Lachute River, also known as the Poop Chute River. They use the dam to flush huge amounts of sewage and industrial toxic waste from industries that had been located along the Poop Chute, Lachute River. And the Ticonderoga sewage treatment plant still uses it as a open sewer. And all those leachings, the leach ate the virus and bacteria laden sewage that leaches into Lake George. Well, it gets flushed with the drawdown. David Wick, director of the Lake George Park Commission. David Wick, you flush the lake. And everybody that's involved with DEC and everybody that's involved with flushing the Poop Chute River, well, you can't hide it. You can lie about it all you want to, like Andy Cuomo and his brother Chris, but you're caught. You're busted. Everybody in New York State knows that Andy Cuomo and his brother and Basil Sagos and the whole bunch of them from David Wick on, involved in the flushing of Lake George, are nothing more than liars. Right? Eric Sly, come on, the RPI University, smartest lake in the world. Darren Freshwater Institute. Why are they flushing the lake? Chris Novinsky? Come on, buddy, you're an engineer. You're supposed to be a scientist. Why does the lake get flushed? Are we diluting the pollution for the solution? And are we flushing, using the dam, Elise Stefanik, are we using the dam to do it all? The flushing. You see, that's the fascinating thing, folks. The Moses Sanders Dam that flushes the Great Lakes and the Chicago River and the Ohio River and the Tennessee River and the New River and all the rivers and tributaries that flow into the Great Lakes are flushed with the Moses Sanders Dam, and they flush all the sewage and chemicals and crap in the St. Lawrence River to the Bay of Fundy. How about that one, Chris Wick? Or David Wick, excuse me. And Governor Cuomo, why are you flushing the St. Lawrence River? And why is the Hudson River flushed using the coffer dams and all the other, the Great Saranac Lake Dam and all this flushing that goes on in the Hudson River? Are we flushing the Hudson River to New York Harbor? Governor Andy Cuomo, come on, man. Y'all need to quit lying, and you especially need to quit hiding all the records. You're hiding and secreting the records. You're disobeying the Freedom of Information laws, and you're not producing the records on all this dam flushing. How about that, Elise Stefanik? The dams are busting. The dam flushing in New York State of all these chemicals and, bacteria and viruses and all the industrial waste and the forever chemicals. Why is the Hudson River flushed? David Wick. Why is the Mohawk River flushed? David Wick. How about the Champlain-Hudson Canal using the lock system? The lock system allows the Champlain-Hudson Canal to be flushed into South Bay. Why is South Bay on Lake Champlain such a huge mess? Lake Champlain's nothing but a huge septic tank, and it gets flushed. Tell him, David Wick of the Lake George Park Commission and Basil Sagos at Environmental Conservation. Open up all the records, you lying sacks of shit. That's what you are. You're lying sacks of shit, just like Andy Cuomo. Folks, all the information in the links you need are below. Wow, I'll tell you what, man. New York, the cancer capital of the free world in Warren County. Why in the flying hell would Glens Falls, home of all those old industries and all the They flushed their sewage into the Hudson River in Glens Falls. Elise Stefanik. Ask the Glens Falls City Council and ask Andy Cuomo, what are they doing dumping sewage into the Hudson River? And then, they flush it. You assholes can't lie about it anymore. You're caught. Open up the records. Open up all the records on DEC and the Adirondack Park and how you stole a whole bunch of land and how you robbed the Indians. All of that land's stolen Indian land. The Empire State has a long history of apartheid and slavery and land thieving. That's what you people are famous for in the Empire State. Stealing land from the Indians, ladies and gentlemen. I'll leave it right there. Andy Cuomo, you're so full of shit. You make the Hudson River look like a good place to go swimming.